This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
Choice. How come I don't have the choice as a parent to decide what's best for my kids, riding in a car seat or not? Mike in Dayton, you're on the big one.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know you do have a choice, actually. Your first-time offense is going to be a $25 fine, so if you really don't feel your kid should be in it, you could do a little civil disobedience and just pay a lousy $25 fine.
Yeah, but still, why should I have to pay the $25? If my kid is safe, shouldn't I be able to determine?
Civil disobedience to make a change if you really believe in it. Also,
well, no, I don't think there should be a price for that. I mean, it comes down to freedom. I mean, there shouldn't be a price to say, don't tell me how to run my kid's life. Like you said, I'm responsible anyway, but
all freedom costs something, and I think $25 is a pretty cheap price to pay considering what we paid to be a free nation in the first place. I don't think it's much to ask. If you really, truly believe in it, why don't you just drop $25 on it?
Well, see, Mike, but that's not going to do anything. If you said, okay, pay $25 and the law goes away, fine. What you're doing is asking me to break the law, to be labeled as possibly down the road, if I did it a second time, as child endangering, something like that. I mean, you know the stigma that's attached to it. Meanwhile, I'm just looking for a choice for my kids. I want to be able to make those choices instead of somebody else telling me what's right. I've had situations before when just a couple of years ago, and my son was 5, 6, and he was in a booster seat. And he's very tall. So it's, not like it's cutting him across the face or neck or something where the strap goes across. And I would literally have to go 1-2 blocks down the road with him in the car. And because his booster seat was in a car at a relative's just a couple of weeks away. One time it was about a mile down the road. And I couldn't take him in the car. I'm like, I can't put him in without one because I know what's going to happen. Doc Thompson, child endangering. I'm like, I'm not even, it's 35. It's right there. There's no cars on this particular road. No common sense. Really? I can't take him down 2 blocks? Instead, in that scenario, we walked a couple of blocks. And in the other scenario, I actually had to drive to the house, get the booster seat, and drive back. 2 miles, a mile each way. Wasted time, wasted energy, because we're not allowed to apply common sense when it comes to our kids. Got an email, said, Doc, the lady in Hee Haw, the series on TV, had a bust size 42D at the age of 12. How would you like to see her in a booster? Well, she'd probably be smashed in there, wouldn't she? Common sense is what I'm looking for. The ability for parents to use common sense, their judgment, to decide what's right for their children. And it's not just with booster seats. It's what food to eat them, what schools to put them in, all of it. It should be a parent's choice. Speaking of choice, Chad Aldis joins me now. He's he's the executive director of School Choice Ohio. Hi, Chad. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you today?
I think this plays right into the School Choice Ohio. We as parents ought to be able to decide what's right for our kids.
Absolutely correct. Too often, you're forced to fit into a certain model and what everyone else tells you should do for your kid's education. Even when you see your kid struggling, there's no choice except for your assigned school for many families, and we're working to change that.
You know what's so funny about this is the people quite often that are opposed to school choice, and this is the big government. You talk big oil. It's big school, big teacher, all of these groups and labor and whatever who want to control that little fiefdom of theirs and don't want you and I putting our kids in the good school and taking the money out of their bad school district. These are the same people that tell us that every kid is special and every kid needs to be treated as an individual and they need to learn all of this stuff and blah. Okay, great. Well, wouldn't that also apply when it comes to their education? If each kid is an individual, then let's let the parents decide individually what's right for them.
That's absolutely correct, and because too often you'll see the people who are fighting against some families from having educational choice already have choice and exercise their school choice as they should, but then work really hard to keep some kids assigned to the school they told them to go to.
Looks like the governor's budget is going to take some steps when it comes to school choice.
It is. There's some really strong first steps toward expanding school choice. One of them, the state of Ohio has what's called the Ed Choice Scholarship or voucher, allows kids in our lowest performing public schools to go to private school. He doubled the cap of that scholarship in his proposed budget from $14,000 to $28,000. But get this, he's going to double it again the following year from $28,000 up to $56,000. So at least in Ohio's lowest performing schools, often termed failing schools, families will have a choice, and that should make them sleep a little easier at night as they work to get their kids a good education.
So by lowest performing, how is that determined? By test scores, graduation rates, both?
Yeah, just test scores. It's a public school that's been rated an academic watch or academic emergency for 2 of the past 3 years. So it's about 200 schools in the state, about 85 to 90,000 kids typically. Varies a little bit year to year. Unfortunately, some of the same schools are on the list every year. But that is the kids who are eligible. I mean, we think that's a great first step. But honestly, we'd like to see that the school choice and the idea of parents being able to determine the kids' education expanded to all families. But this is a strong first step in this budget.
Yeah, I was happy to see that part of it. I am a huge fan of school choice. I say, listen, if we have to put the money out there, you should be able to determine. And I don't understand why there'd be any parent against this. It is you will have the ability to say, I get to control the dollars that my child has been allotted to go to school. And why wouldn't you want your kid to go to the best school?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, why would any parent be opposed to it for their kid? Every parent does want it for their kid. It's just, in some ways, when society's looking after us, too many people are saying, wait a second, though, what if everyone had the choice? People want it for their kid, but not necessarily for other people's kids, and that is a problem. And that hopefully we're getting to address that and putting families and parents back in charge.
Talking with Chad Aldis, the executive director of School Choice Ohio. I am a huge supporter of school choice. I see one potential problem, Chad, and it's not in the concept; it's how we get from here to there. The governor can increase the funding for school choice probably a few times over, open up some new scholarships for it, continue to expand this, but at some point, in order to go from where we are or where we will be at that point to everybody being involved, there's got to be a revamping of the system. We need to relook at this in a different way.
There is, and the governor's budget overall, at least what we've been able to see so far, does a really good job of focusing it on students, not bureaucracies. And that's too often we're funding one system or another, and we're trying to say, what will happen to the grown-ups or the adults in the system if we allow this to happen? And I think the governor has done some things. Let me give you a couple examples. One is incentive funding for students. When a student learns more than a year's worth of learning, he's going to give a bonus to that teacher from state funds per student. So if you have 20 students in your class, they all do more than a year's worth of learning gains, he's going to incentivize the teachers for doing that. We all know teachers are all trying hard. Let's accept that as a given. But not everyone gets the same results. Let's incentivize and pay more for those teachers who do get good results, so we get more of that behavior. That's one great example of changing the system, I think, that's out there. Another one is for those...
Hey, real quick, so before you get to the next one, Chad, I just want to comment on that. I was thinking of it while you were saying that from a teacher's perspective. If you're a teacher, and I would bet that during these huge debates over unions and teachers and government workers, from a teacher's perspective, I'll bet most of them would say, I do a good job, why are you attacking me, so on, so on, so on. If you do a good job and you're really confident in that, then you should love this idea because you're going to make more money.
You absolutely should. And Ohio's value-added or learning gains system of measurement is so advanced, we'll actually know if a kid starts 2 years behind and you give them more than a year's worth of learning gains, we'll know that. So you don't have to give me the excuse or the example of, well, he was so far behind. Well, that's great. Then when you give him those base skills and you raise the child up to get a year's worth of learning gains, that will be reflected because of our ability to measure that. So it's a good first step. Is it going to be a magic elixir? No. I mean, there's no one magic bullet for this, but instead, with lots of good incremental changes, we can really get there.
I was at a school choice meeting, about 6 weeks or so ago, and there was a state rep there, I can't remember which one, and he was talking about a program that Ohio has managed to push through. And I don't even know what it's called, but it is essentially being able to shop online for classes.
Yeah.
and go to different schools. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, and you know what? The governor's budget actually expands that a little bit.
What is it called, first of all?
There's a national program called the Digital Learning Council.
Okay.
That Governor Jeb Bush and Governor Bob Wise, a Republican and Democrat former governor of Florida and West Virginia, respectively, have pushed through to really expand digital learning. And Ohio is fully embracing that concept of being able to really allow families to choose individual courses. And this budget goes a long way toward doing that. And right now there's a lot of bureaucracy steps that say, okay, well, you can do it for some of your struggling learners, but you can't do it for your advanced learners. And there's lots of little roadblocks we've put in the way. And this basically lays out a blueprint for taking some of those away so families can choose.
But this digital learning, essentially, you'd be able to shop, and I know we have a lot of ways to go before we can get all of the details worked out, but the concept is, if you're going to school in Little Miami, for now, while it's still around, you're going to school in Little Miami School District, and you say, I want to take Latin, but they don't offer it. I don't know if they do, but if they didn't, you would be able to go online and shop for a Latin course that is offered at another school and take it online. Is that essentially how it would work? That
is exactly what's being proposed, and the type of programs that are out there. The state of Florida already has this, by the way. Governor Jeb Bush and his A-plus education plan created a digital, not a digital learning council, but a Florida virtual school. And it's actually a public school. And you have to, any student who wants to can shop for classes, just as you said, and get this, they are state-accredited teachers that provide all the teaching of these courses. And for the virtual school to get paid, the student actually has to pass the class. So it's a really innovative model, and it allows a small school district or a struggling financial school district to offer Mandarin Chinese or maybe AP Physics or things they couldn't afford to offer, especially in small districts, and allow them to really give more opportunities for their kids.
And then the nice thing is these teachers can go on and, I mean, if they're getting paid, $50, $200, $500, $800, whatever it is per student, that stuff adds up pretty quick. You could be sitting in your home teaching, a few dozen kids every day, making a good living.
There is no reason we need to keep doing business the same way we did it 100 years ago, with everybody showing up at the schoolhouse door every day. Now, we can be more innovative than that. We have technology. We need to utilize it.
I think it's probably going to come down, and this is why I keep talking about the online stuff, to a combination. We can size down some of these palaces they built, these brick and mortar palaces that we call schools, and they pour all this money into it. Size those down, take some more classes online, and then offer flexible times throughout the day. That helps the parents out. It saves money, and it holds the education system accountable to actually teach, and they make more money.
That's absolutely correct. Another proposal here, when we're talking about systems and schools and things of that nature, the new proposal will call for rating every school. So not just giving you effective or excellent, but actually ranking you on a numerical scale compared to other similar schools. So you might have the suburban schools actually not just saying, well, you're excellent, but how do you rate compared to other suburban schools? I mean, what we found is even our good or average performances are not good on the international standards. We're not doing well enough as a nation. So Ohio is now embarking on a proposal that will actually rate all the schools in the state, from all the school districts, especially like from 1 to 614. So where are kids really learning? Not just on overall results, but on learning gains and how much we're progressing each year and how much our students are getting out of it.
The rep I was talking about, Bill Coley?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Coley. He was the one I saw who was talking about this or whatever. I'm going to try to get him on to explain it because it was kind of clever how they got it done, too. And this is another piece of the puzzle of turning the whole thing around. And I think it's good for everybody. It saves us money. Teachers, you should love it. Parents, you should love it as well.
That's right.
All right, you've got an event, a rally tomorrow?
Tomorrow, that's right. Tomorrow at the State House on the West Lawn, beginning at 1 p.m. There's going to be Lieutenant Governor Taylor will be there, Speaker Batchelder, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Senator Keith Faber, Congressman Jim Jordan, Treasurer Mandel, a whole lineup of folks who are getting out there, and most importantly, beyond the speakers who will be talking about the importance of school choice, we're going to have families. I know there's 25 or 30 buses coming from around the state of people who are just gathering together to talk about how important it is for families to have options and for the state to have policies that push those forward.
Chad Aldis from School Choice Ohio, the big rally tomorrow, and I wish you the best of luck and keep me posted on how it goes.
Well, thank you very much, and stay tuned. Education reform is happening.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. He's right. And that's the one good thing about stuff like Senate Bill 5 and what's going on in Wisconsin, that finally people are talking about this, that we need to change some of the traditional ways we do this, take a step forward with technology, save some money, give more money to the teachers, better education to the kids, and help the parents out with agendas, the things they have to go throughout the day, their schedule, all of these things. I mean, we can do much better and probably save money. It's Doc Thompson, 700 WLW. Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast for meteorologist Frank Marzullo. You got clouds this afternoon and possibly some thunderstorms. Afternoon high around 72. More T-storms tonight, low 54. Currently 65 at 700 WLW. Couple of emails to share from John. Thank you, Doc. I had the same conversation with my wife this morning about my son. I told her no way in hell will he be in a booster seat in junior high. 12 and a half years of age, cruising around town in a booster seat. Well, I mean, is that any different than saying you're 26 years of age and you can be on your parents' insurance now as part of the big Obamacare? 26. Why? How about you're 18? We've set that as a standard. You're 16, you can drive. You're 18, you vote. Of course, 21 then when you drink. How about a little consistency? 12 and a half in the booster seat. Oh, man. Can you imagine the arguments? How about that? You tell your kid, get in the booster seat. I don't want. And you're like, listen, I'm going to get arrested or fined or something. Get in the booster seat. And you can't blame them for being upset. Would you want to ride in it? Let's see. You got an email from Michael. He said, my grandfather had a 1965 Chrysler New Yorker. Had a huge armrest in the middle of the seat. He used to let me sit on it while he drove. I thought it was like riding a horse. That was when I was 6. It's a good thing he died 30 years ago. I'd hate to be responsible for him being in jail. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think we're talking about most parents, off-roading it and stuff with the kids sitting in the middle of, like on the armrest or something. But driving down the road, a couple of blocks with a kid sitting there, come on, let them be responsible for it. Jill shared an email, doc700WLW.com. She said, can't kids get married in some states, i.e. Kentucky, at 13? So kids would be in booster seats until they can get married? I know that's extreme, but as stupid as it is for allowed marriage at 13, it's stupid, if not more, to require booster seats for anyone under 13. Actually, Kentucky is 16 with the parents' permission. Ohio used to be 14 with the parents' permission, but it may be 16 as well now. I think there are some states that are 14, though. So would it be you'd be able to get out of the booster seat at 13 and then 1 year later get married. So you'd have that year to mature and get ready for marriage. Yeah, you don't want to rush right into it or anything like that. All right, going to get some calls coming up and also dive into the school funding issue and look at it a little bit more. Little Miami still in trouble, still doesn't know what they're doing. They still have their library encased in plastic wrap as a sign of protest because the plastic wrap really isn't doing anything other than rubbing their nose in it that they haven't passed the budgets there. They haven't patched any levies. We'll get to that and talk about some of the other schools coming up on 700 WLW. Well, we still got Ohio State and Kentucky in the tournament. Lance still has Butler. Meyer and the big one have teamed up to celebrate the college basketball teams, especially the ones locally and regionally. They're going to give some lucky fans 6 different hats to wear proudly during the amazing season of college basketball. Wear the lids proudly. You can register on Lance's blog, 700WLW.com. Search contests, and you'll be able to register. So busing is at the state minimums in Little Miami. Sports, parents have to pay over $600. The kids want to play sports. They've laid off some teachers. They've closed some schools down. And they've even shrink-wrapped, well, at least plastic-wrapped up the library. Which I even mentioned when they did that, how ridiculous it was. What is that doing? How is it protecting anything? I mean, if you had a librarian there, what is she doing? keeping the kids from damaging the books. Well, how is a little bit of plastic going to stop? It's not. What is it, dust? They'd be getting dusty on the shelves anyways. Same things would happen. That's just we're trying to punish the parents. We're trying to make a show here that since 2008, you have denied every levy after every levy. 7 of them you have turned down. So we're going to punish you. It's going to be on display all the time. Look at the plastic wrap books. That's the game they're playing. Yes, I understand they have shut some schools down, laid off some teachers, raised the busing to the state minimums. But they could be doing something else. And this is true in Lakota and in other areas as well that are struggling. Certainly Little Miami being insolvent, possibly just going away is an emergency. But the other ones are very in danger as well, and they should be very concerned. As I mentioned school choice, and we talked about the digital learning, how about a school district like Little Miami or Lakota? It might be too far gone for Little Miami. They are in some serious trouble. But maybe not. To take the initiative and come up with a new plan. This comes back to that leadership thing. Whether you're a president or a congressman or a CEO, you've got to find a way. You've got to think creatively. Unfortunately, many people in positions, school board members, administrators, superintendents, principals, politicians, they're really not that creative. They know we get money from these places, we spend money on these things, and let's hope we don't have a big need where our spending is over what we bring in. That's pretty much it. And then occasionally they'll cut and jockey some people around, close a school. But they're still not thinking creatively. It's still they're still thinking very linear. This is how things operate. Well, I challenge you with technology. The world is unlimited. Imagine if somebody stepped up and came up with some plans. Now, they wouldn't be able to do all of them. There are rules and regulations and laws in place, but they might be able to get some of them done, and they may be able to make a case to the Department of Education and the governor and say, here's what we can do. To make your case and say, we believe we can provide a good, just as good or better education and be able to do it cheaper where we don't have to go to the taxpayers for those levies if we come up with something unique. So what is unique? I think it's some combination of traditional school and online learning. Now that's a pretty big swing here. There's limitless ideas, an infinite number of ideas that you could attach to that, or paths to kind of shape that. They've already closed a couple of schools. Okay. How about allowing some students to take some extra classes online? We've already got some of the infrastructure in place in the state, offering different classes throughout the day where it's not just 9 to 5. The people that live in that district, and I saw an article yesterday in the Inquirer about feeling like they're held hostage. They can't sell their homes because the school district's insolvent. But nobody has the money to put for a levy. Kind of a catch-22. They're being held hostage. Who wants to move to a district if they're not passing the levies and you find out the school may go away? Even if they're 10 years down the road, it'll all be fine. Right now, the perception is if you go to buy a house there, ooh, what about the schools? You've done that, I'm sure. You've gone to buy a house. What do you ask? How are the schools? Or maybe when somebody's selling, they'll have the materials. Look at the schools. I bought a couple of houses where they had that. Right there with all the information on the house. Here's what the schools are. One of the best in the state, or here's their academic rating. Imagine now telling a potential buyer, here's what the school district is doing. They're leading the state, leading parts of the country in this idea they have of offering alternative classes, different times of the day, offering more things online. Like I said, we could get a room full of 200 people together and come up with all kinds of different ideas and ways to shape this. But how come the leadership there isn't doing it? Stop thinking brick and mortar. Stop thinking Mrs. Smith has a class and 23 kids come in and they put apples on her desk and then they go home at 4 o'clock or whatever it is. We've got to break that down and come up with a new plan. I'd love to see one of these school districts do it. What are you out? I mean, they know better than I the rules, the laws, what the children need because they are around that every day. So how about a couple of the superintendents getting together or principals or the superintendent gets together with the board? I'm not talking about we're going to spend $25,000 on a blue ribbon commission and consultants to come in and talk. No, this is your job. Get together in a big room, maybe ask parents for their suggestions, and start shaping the future of education. I don't mean that as a cliche, the future of education. Truly, what will it look like 50 years from now? Do you really think 50, 100 years from now, kids are going to get on a little yellow bus at the same time every day, and it's going to stop at every door, and then it's going to take them to school, and then it's going to pick it? No, it's not. Does school look different now than it did 100 years ago? Yeah, 100 years ago, they didn't have buses. So, how about a clever, creative superintendent gets together with some principals, starts talking? Nothing committed to it. You're not committing anything. Just say, I have some ideas. How can we shape this so kids don't have to be here every day? Maybe then they could go to a 4-day school week. Well, people have done that anyways, where the kids are at school longer and whatever. But if you had some online classes, maybe you don't have to do that. And parents then, maybe if you're not willing to, and I completely understand, pass an additional levy. I get that. Would you be willing to take on some more responsibilities? I would as a parent. You know, whether it's making sure the kids learn here, they're online at this, whatever it is. I'd be willing to do that. Versus the money? Absolutely. That's just the basis of an idea. Where's the leadership? Instead of just saying, state, give me money, federal government, give me money. If you don't, we will shrink wrap all the books. That's all I hear. Need to a quick call here. I got Jim, Cincinnati. You're on 700 WLW.
Hey, Doc. The problem with your idea is one word, union.
Yep. No, you're right. They've stopped that from happening for years.
Exactly. So,
but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That is my whole issue with union. Is they're not for the people; they are for themselves and their money.
And this has been my argument through this whole thing with SB5, as I try to lay out a reasonable case for it, and tell people, listen, teachers, like I was talking with the guy from School Choice, you have opportunities here to make even more money. And I'm gonna get that representative on Colion about it to explain. You could have your work days altered that would be more beneficial. Maybe you're only working 3 days a week and you make even more. Those are real possibilities if you're a go-getter and you're good. But you're right, the unions that are stopping it, you should be ashamed of yourself. Even if they're in it for the teachers, because remember, teachers' unions are not about education or the kids, they're in it for the teachers. Well, even if you want in it for the teachers and you're a union, you should be backing this and helping come up with ideas that help the teachers make more money and have a better quality of life, maybe be able to adjust their schedules. Just stop thinking brick and mortar. More of your calls coming up on 700 WLW. It's Doc Thompson on 700 WLW. Go back to the phones here. Get to Tony. Tony in Georgetown. How are you?
I'm fine, Doc. How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Let me run this by you. This may be way off base, but what if you were to take all the numbers that would be available to operate the school system, take them to a university and a business class, and then divide the kids up in a business class and say, give us a business model that can make this school system work with X amount of dollars, because I guess everything is public record, isn't it?
Yeah, I would guess most of it is. There might be some things, specific salaries and stuff. But yeah, I would think most of it's public record.
And see, they wouldn't have a dog in the fight. They could make the tough cuts.
Mm-hmm. I would just love, and Tony, what you're really still talking about though is the creative energy from a lot of people. You know, we elect these people, and then they get hired by some other people, get hired by those that we elect to do this very thing. We forget that. We think it's just about day-to-day operations and, you know, signing absence slips or whatever it is. It's not. It's also about leading if you're on a school board or you're a superintendent, and they should be able to come up with this. Now, if that is not their strong suit, because there's many things that go into those jobs, then they should be willing to open it up and say, I'm looking for suggestions during tough times like this. My idea is just the beginning. There's a lot of ways to take that. Jerry in Cincinnati, you're on the big one.
Hey,
hello.
Doc,
how you doing?
It's Gary, but
okay.
yeah, I've got a son who's been in a virtual academy here in Ohio for 6 years.
How's it work?
It's during he's getting ready to graduate high school, but up to junior high, basically you can run your own schedule as long as you get the hours in. I mean, technically you could be ready for your next grade by the middle of April or May if you wanted to have your school year done, as long as you put in the hours. The high school is a little bit more structured, but you have accredited teachers that are teaching your courses, and you've got your assignments that are due just like in the brick and mortar school.
Do you think my idea has a little bit of merit, that we could use more online stuff and maybe cut down on some of the other costs and stuff?
Yes. And actually, I've got 3 children. My 2 previous children went to the brick and mortar school. We weren't real happy with the results we were getting. And my 3rd child was bored in school. So we ended up opting to try a virtual school, and it's helped him a lot.
Well, and you make another good point, too. You actually, as a parent then, probably in general are going to be a little more involved, but also you get to control a little more of what your kid learns. And that's something that a lot of us have been frustrated with over the years. No, because this is where it's gotten. Over the weekend in Chicago, a bunch of kids took the SAT test. And I don't know if you have been confronted by this with your kids or not recently, but The Bachelor and Jersey Shore made it onto the SAT. Did you see that? Oh, yeah. There were questions about The Bachelor and Jersey Shore on the SAT. One of the questions asked, how authentic can these shows be when producers design challenges for the participants and then editors alter film scenes? Do people benefit from forms of entertainment that show so-called reality, or are such forms of entertainment harmful? They were asked to write on that. That's the SAT. Imagine not getting into college because you didn't know who the situation was. Imagine, I was this close to Harvard. I was that close. I had no idea who Snooki is. Sorry, no college for you. Doc Thompson on the home of the Reds, 700 WLW.